Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host. We're broadcasting live from Roseville, Minnesota. Joining me as always, MAGA Jesse. Tell the folks what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, we got some good stuff lined up for everybody today. We will be talking about Otter County and the MNGOP ousting the delegates there. I've got my Make Votes Count Again hat on because it's not only Democrats that are willing to disenfranchise elections and rig the process and make votes not count. This is happening within the Republican Party, too. We'll be discussing Tim Walz. There is a Breitbart article that is exposing the CCP involvement within the state of Minnesota. We'll be discussing the Signal Gate, everything that is going on surrounding the alleged war plans and the discussion on the Houthis. So we'll wrap up with that discussion there, but plenty of good stuff to get into. I see we got Truth Seeker, Mary Kay, Frosty Girl, Laser Jim, and Truth Wins and MN all in the chat. Appreciate all you guys tuning in.
That's the greatest usernames I've ever heard. That's a great one. Those are the people that listen to our show live on air every Tuesday and Thursday. Please, if you do, I think we're going to have a lot of info, so we won't get to a lot of comments. So if you hit a Rumble rant, we'll go live to your comment. But there's just so much to cover here. Under the weather, but still operating the show. The technician, the magician, Dawson, we call him Mr. Deep State. Thank you so much for coming in, Dawson. I know you're going to take off as soon as the show's done. Hopefully you start taking vitamin D so you don't get in these positions.
Yeah, the one nice thing is that my voice gets nice and deep and gravelly. Very good for podcasting.
There you go. Vitamin D, though. Gamers don't get sunlight. You got to take vitamin D. All right. This episode is brought to you by Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, give my good friend Warren a call at 612-419-7453. And if you're looking to buy a home, give the good guys at John Galt Mortgage a chance at financing that home. You can go to johngaltmortgage.com. Also, if you are in the St. Cloud area and you have, whether it's new construction or renovations to your home, and looking for somebody who thinks like you in the space of cabinetry, you can go to Alpine Cabinetry in the wonderful city of St. Cloud, Minnesota. Okay, last night, the members of the State Executive Committee of the Republican Party of Minnesota met in a well, I think secret meeting's fair to say, but in a meeting that was considered an emergency, and they voted on a resolution to basically disenfranchise duly elected delegates in Otter County, Minnesota, again. I mean, this is one of the big reasons David Hann got fired, did not win his election in December, that former corrupt chair, David Hann. And it's happening all over again. And the reason it's happening is these Tom Emmer people that are trying to run the Minnesota GOP. Let's just put it for what it is. It is these kind of people, and I think what's going on here in particular is trying to protect their darling Michelle Fischbach, which I don't give a crap what your opinion is on her. I don't care if she's got a challenger or not. They're worried she's going to have a challenger, and they are willing to get rid of duly elected delegates in Otter County. I think there's some other things at play there that are very important to mention.
And, Otter County delegates, they've been banned from the 2023 CD7 convention, the 2023 Otter County convention, the 2024 Otter County convention, the 2024 CD7 convention, and the 2024 state convention. Now, again, they want to ban them from the CD7 convention when they were just duly elected with Alex Plekish at their convention.
Dawson, get ready to pull up the resolution I sent you via email. We didn't talk about this pre-show. Joining us on Zoom is Andy Bradrick, who is actually a member of what I would consider the conservative grassroots patriots up in Otter County, and it was actually at the convention. And Andy, I believe you probably are a delegate. Is that correct? Nope, we have you on mute. Sorry, go ahead.
That is correct. I was currently elected at the last convention on Saturday as a delegate. I also was an alternate in 2022.
Okay, so I guess either way, you're still going to be seated as a delegate, because what I believe they're trying to do is keep the 2022 delegates. However, in this case, you're being disenfranchised in terms of the current delegation, which was elected last Saturday. And that's the 2024 delegates, or I guess technically it's 2025 delegates, but it's for the election cycle that began in 2024. All right, so Andy, I want to bring up the resolution. We had a source give this to us. This is what was voted. Now, there's no public statement. This isn't public out there. The MNGOP does this stuff under the cover of darkness. They're disenfranchising. How many delegates were elected on Saturday? 30-something?
37.
37 delegates and 4 state central delegates. So they're doing that, but not doing it publicly, right? I mean, if you're going to like disenfranchise people, why don't you do that publicly? They're too cowardly to do that. All right, pull this up, Dawson. This is the actual resolution. I better pull up on my computer too so I can read it. This is what passed yesterday. And Andy, I want to break this down with you because I think you're going to have a different take of the events that transpired at the convention. So it reads, on Monday, March 24th, 2025, the Minnesota 7th Congressional District, CD7, Executive Committee passed a motion to not recognize the election of the CD7 delegates and alternates that was conducted at the Otter County BPOU convention held on March 22nd, 2025, based on the following motion discussion. A, the election was improper as the elected convention chair was no longer presiding over the convention. The presiding chair ruled the motion to replace the 2022 Otter County BPOU CD7 delegates and alternate list with the presented slate of new delegates and alternates was out of order. He ruled it was out of order. A new motion was presented and approved by the voting body of the convention to override the chair's decision. After being counseled by the convention chair and the Minnesota State Party chair, which is Alex Plekish, multiple times that this action was improper, the convention body chose to continue the process and conducted an improper election presided by a BPOU delegate, not the presiding chair, thus invalidating the election of the slate of delegates and alternates. When they say a BPOU delegate, are they referring to you?
I assume so. I'm somewhat at a loss why Jonathan Annisted, who was the convention chair, is admitting that he was no longer the presiding convention chair. That was not the case at all. He presided over the entire convention. I was serving as the nominations chair and presented the information for election of the different officer positions, but Jonathan Annisted presided over that entire convention.
Okay. This is just a very easy point to diffuse, to refute. We are a democratic style government. We are a republic, by the way, but that's a democratic style government. Our institutions, especially party institutions, and especially legislative institutions, are democratically run. The opposite of a democratic institution is one ruler. A presiding chair is not the ultimate ruler. If he is, it's not a democratic institution.
Right. Well, just like in the state Senate or in the state House, if Bobby Joe Champion in the Senate, a Democrat, is saying that a motion is out of order, the body can make a vote to overrule the ruling of the chair. So
democratic thing to do.
Exactly. So just as it's done in the legislature, the same can be done throughout these conventions by overruling a chair's decision.
Correct. And likewise, a chair can't just remove himself from the head of the room and say, well, no business will be conducted. Now, if you're retarded Republicans who allow the Secretary of State to do that to you, then it's on you. But the normal, obvious people that understand how stupid that is when you're a democratic institution, a democratic body, to allow someone to just stop the process from going forward. I don't even remember how I started this phrase. It's so utterly ridiculous for anyone to allow that to happen. And so in this case, you guys, as a body, democratically chose that the chair was incorrect and you were going to go forward with the motion. What am I getting wrong on that?
Let me clarify. The motion to appeal the ruling of the chair was whether or not we could elect or we could act on a amendment that had just been passed previously to the Constitution, allowing us to elect delegates here in Saturday's convention to the upcoming CD7 convention. He said he tried to argue that the language in the constitutional amendment referred to the next convention. The language in the constitutional amendment stated that if the BPOU should fail to elect in the even year delegates to the CD7 and state, that they could do that in the next convention.
Which, so his position then is that there will be no delegation that's representing that district except for ones that were done in a previous elective year. That is so utterly stupid of a position. But you know what the beauty of the system is? He has every right to give his opinion, and the body has every right to overrule him, right?
Correct.
And that's what you guys did. Let me read further here because this is utterly ridiculous. All right. B. The Otter County BPOU also voted to amend their Constitution, Article 7, Section 1, to include, in the event elections aren't held in even number of years, this is what you were alluding to, the delegates and alternate positions shall be elected in the same manner at the next BPOU convention. The CD7 Executive Committee believes that the next Otter County BPOU convention has not been called. I mean, like, it's their position that we won't even have, I mean, that actually was their position last year, that Otter County shouldn't even have a convention, which, by the way, if we're talking about the Constitution, it requires them to have a convention every year. And it was the party's position for them not to even have a convention. Okay, so C. This election of the slate of CD7 delegates and alternates called under other business was not listed on the official call to the Otter County Convention. Therefore, it was an unfair proceeding to any member who left the convention or did not attend the convention who would seek to stand for election of those positions or to vote against the proceeding. That's a ridiculous claim as well. Now, D, the election of CD7, by the way, they tried to have, what was it, like 60-some people of your guys they didn't even want to attend? They said that you couldn't come, you couldn't be a delegate at this convention?
62 people, yes.
Oh, but we're so worried about the people that just didn't even bother to open up the mail. I mean, they probably didn't open the mail and didn't make
and the people that didn't even show up. Right.
Yeah.
You know, they're concerned, you know, and they're not really concerned with the people that didn't show up. They're just using that as an excuse.
E, the slate of proposed delegates and alternates was not presented in a fair election process as a nomination from the floor, were only granted to the alternate election, not the delegate election, thereby prejudicing and prohibiting the election of any member to stand for the delegate selection. And F, the slate was comprised of people deemed not eligible by the CD7 Special Committee and State Executive Board Agreement. That's the beauty of it. You can't even run. You're not allowed to. That's like the Walter Hudson argument. Well, he's not a proper candidate, so we can't have him address the convention. Oh my God. So this is what they passed last night. Based on those things, the CD7 Executive Committee recommends to the Minnesota Republican Party State Executive Board that it affirms the following decision. CD7 shall continue to use and seat the 2022 Otter County BPOU CD7 delegate and alternate list that was used at the CD7 2024 convention. So let me just kind of cut to the chase here. Essentially, all you people who showed up last weekend and did the right thing, you know, show up with the numbers, go through the process, get elected. Use the democratic process, get elected. All you guys that did that was for nothing. They're just going to ignore it and not allow you guys to be delegates.
That's correct. Again, this is ironic. I mentioned in the last interview that CD7 sent out this proposed amendment, the amendment that you just read, to be reviewed by an independent parliamentarian attorney from Douglas County. That gentleman has been a parliamentarian for numerous CD7 and BPOU conventions. He reviewed this, went through the MNGOP Constitution, the Otter County Constitution, and I'll read to you his determination. He says, if this amendment passes, there is no obstacle to the convention electing delegates and alternates, and they will have provided the means to do so. CD7 raised in their request to him the objection that it wasn't in the convention call. And his response to that is, as a general rule, a convention has the authority to transact business specified in the call and other business that a majority of the convention wishes. And so his determination was that if this amendment was passed by a 2/3 majority, and that's what's required to pass a constitutional amendment, if it's passed by a 2/3 majority, there's no obstacle to the convention then requesting that delegates be elected in other business. And that's what we did. We followed that procedure. So I really don't understand the objection. They simply didn't like the determination
Right.
of the parliamentarian that they handpicked to give them counsel in this matter.
So then they just resort to the chairman. Dawson, go ahead and pull up the A4. This is Jonathan Onestad. Now this is a guy, for people that know, who's been around the ranks for a while. This is Jonathan Onestad. You've probably seen him before. He's an interesting individual. You know, he was once hired by the Minnesota Tea Party Patriots to come after us, as an organization back when we were the Tea Parties. It was like doing a circuit of like conservative media to like trash our organization. This is like a consultant that's just hired by by everyone, pretty much. He's pretty much a for-hire guy in the world of politics. So, what's so fascinating to me is in this, it says not only the chair at the convention, which is Jonathan Onestad, who's from CD3, by the way. So, like, why is he out there in Otter County? It's also referencing the chairman of the party, Alex Plekish. From my understanding, he was at the convention all day. Is that correct?
That is correct. He was there all day. And I've worked with Jonathan before at other conventions, and as I was serving as nominations chair, we had a good working relationship at this convention. So
that's what I heard.
There was no hostility. I worked well with him, and Frank Long, the parliamentarian. When I was speaking as a delegate, we debated some issues, but there was a good working relationship between us.
So Frank Long. Well, they get all the haters out there. Like, could you pick a better crew of people that are just really anti-grassroots? All right, so that was my understanding, is things appeared to run smoothly at the convention, and then these guys go to the party, or actually go to C7, they go to the party to backstab you guys. But my big problem here is literally, like, Plekish was at this convention. Did he sound up saying that this was a problem? Did you guys hear him even raise a concern about the way things were happening?
He expressed concern so I should back up and say the whole issue about the 62 people that were uninvited from the convention, who were elected on caucus night, filled out documents. The CD7 Special Committee and State Executive Committee went through and had a criteria that caught these 62 people and accused them of basically not being Republicans. Their paperwork, they forgot to check a box saying that they agreed with the principles, and they also made some type of objection to the Otter County bylaws. So the convention in the rules were able to vote on whether or not who was the convention body, who was going to be included. The language that was presented to us the morning of the convention stated that only those approved by this CD7 Special Committee and the State Executive Committee comprised the legitimate body. An amendment was put forward to change that, to replace that with simply everybody that was elected at the 2024 caucuses held in Otter County. including the 62 uninvited individuals.
When the CD7 exec committee or the state exec committee met last night, were any of you guys that were elected last Saturday able to present your case?
I understand that our new BPOU chair was present, but I don't think he was allowed to present a case.
Interesting. Yeah, you would think you would want to hear from the opposite side, but then again, I wouldn't argue that that's what these guys really care about, right? And by the way, this is coming from Tom Emmer's people, Bobby Benson, and this crazy person, Joy Orvis, who, like we said on Tuesday's show, is making crazy accusations against Action for Liberty's president, and sounds like literally a radical feminist. These are the people that brought this motion to the table. And there was somebody else. Who was the other one? Do you remember? There's 3 people that brought the motion. Or, called for the special meeting
Was it
of
Craig?
state exec.
Craig Bishop?
No, he's not in state exec.
Right.
You know, the other interesting thing about this is, so the chairman of the Republican Party of Minnesota did not attend this special meeting. And we reached out to him. And we've offered Alex a chance to come on this show. Because the way I look at it is there's been 3 strikes here in just a matter of a week. Okay. And I don't think Alex is behind it, but at some point he's responsible for it because he is the chairman of the party. Or so we think. Number one, they send out a letter. Actually, Alex ends up emailing this letter statewide condemning Action for Liberty. And in that, including a lie about us doxing somebody. Okay. With no proof, by the way. Okay. Strike 1. Strike 2. Then the secretary of the party literally makes up an accusation, unfounded accusation, that the president is intimidating women and say that Action for Liberty is just male-led, which ignores the fact that Wendy and Lisa are part of our leadership team, okay? And then the third one, and this one probably the most important, literally nothing's changed if they're just willing to disenfranchise duly elected delegates, in this case 37 delegates who were elected on Saturday, people that gave up their time and effort and went to a convention. And I have to get back to this point and stress this enough. When you go to a convention, the convention's not for the pleasure of the chairman of the party. It's not for the pleasure of the presiding officer or the chair of the convention. It's for the pleasure of the body. And if the body disagrees with the chair, they have every right to overrule that person and conduct business. And in this case, the business they're trying to conduct what? Elect delegation, because delegates really are a delegation of the people, Republicans of that district. And number 2, have other conventions. Like that is what the party should be doing. So we asked Alex to come on the show. He's out in Washington, D.C. Did you know that, Andy? He's out in Washington, D.C. right now, meeting with a congressional delegation that's behind this stuff.
Yeah, I heard that. Missed the meeting last night. He and Donna Bergstrom were not present at that meeting, I understand.
So you guys are being disenfranchised and the party chair can't attend a meeting. Like, who's so important that you're meeting with out in Washington, D.C.? Are you meeting with Donald Trump? Are you? Like, what's going on?
Right. It's kind of unbelievable that they could hold an executive board meeting without the chairman.
Right.
It's absolutely ridiculous that they would be, coordinating to put together some sort of a plan without the chairman, considering that the chairman was at the Otter County Convention. Obviously, this was lined up so that Plekish wouldn't be there, perhaps so that Donna wouldn't be there. Just to disenfranchise, I see that we got a couple of comments I want to get to here.
Okay.
Sjogren US says MNGOP/CD7 cherry picks provisions that they like and ignore provisions that they don't like. The convention was called, the delegates were seated, the body amended the rules, made motions, and completed the business of the convention. And let's see here. Carol Hexam says the delegates were certified by their precinct chairs and elected by the precinct. CD7 has no authority to deny delegates, and that's a great point because ultimately it goes right back to the precinct level. And those are the people who have the authority to, elect the delegates.
I think we need Michelle Fishbach to weigh in on this. What side are you on this issue, Michelle Fishbach? I think all you guys up in Otter County should demand her to make a public statement. It seems to be a pretty big matter when duly elected delegates
which
are being
side she's on.
disenfranchised in her congressional
Right,
district.
we know which side she's on.
We do, but
she's a part of the disenfranchised.
she needs to be public about it.
Right, but the fact that she's not public about it tells you her position.
Right, yeah. And she dodged it, and she didn't make a statement. And by the way, it's like you're willing to do this for some perceived threat in the future. That's what this is all about. We'll get into that in just a little bit. So, Andy,
can I mention something? Yeah, Alex made a comment at the convention saying that the state party chair never certified the people elected at caucus in 2024 in Otter County. Never certified that. Apparently, he's not aware of what the state statute says. State statute is very clear that the people that certify the election of caucus delegates is the precinct chair.
right.
He certifies it to the BPOU chair and to the state chair. It's not the state party chair that certifies the individuals who is in, who is out.
Yeah.
That's done at the caucus level.
Yeah, they just have to provide it to the state chair, I think is what
Correct.
it says. Yeah, it's utterly ridiculous. All right, so you guys got a hell of a battle this Saturday because the Otter County convention is this Saturday. I'm sorry, the CD7 convention is this Saturday, and I assume you guys plan on showing up and letting the body determine who are participants, who are the delegates.
Exactly. Yeah. Robert's Rules of Order provides for this. It clearly states if there's contested delegation, the people that decide is the body. The body gets to vote on that. Amendment can be made to the credentials report to remove or replace one delegation with another delegation. And it's the body that gets to decide. And I think that's the fair thing to do. Let the CD7 convention decide. Let them put this behind them and let's move forward.
By the way, it'd be like Mitch McConnell or maybe Mitch McConnell and his staff deciding, you know what, Mike Lee and Rand Paul can't be senators anymore.
Yeah.
They're disenfranchised. We're not going to let them be senators anymore. It's like, no, you don't get to choose that, right? They've been selected by their states to go and serve in the Senate. You don't get to decide. And that's what they're doing here. You guys were elected as delegates by the people of Otter County. You have the numbers, and they're trying to say, oh, you know what? There's this technicality, that technicality. It doesn't count. Whatever. That's not how this thing works. Let's go ahead and read that Rumble
Yeah,
rant.
we got a $10 Rumble rant from Billy22. He says, at Sjogren Us, truth, CD7 leaders will likely all be ousted if they seated 37 patriots from Otter County. The exclusion has always been about protecting the power of Fishbach supporters, and it certainly appears to be that way. And considering that Plekish has put out that endorsement for Fishbach, and there hasn't been an endorsement or anything like that, I think it's even within the party rules or bylaws or something that party officers are not supposed to be making pre-endorsement endorsements, but yet here we stand. So I think Billy22 is right on.
Andy, are you aware of that? Literally, Alex Plekish in the party put out a statement a week ago saying that they support the re-election of Michelle Fishbach.
I had heard that. That is just ridiculous.
Right.
Party chair has to be so careful in what he says, and that is clearly a misstep.
And the crazy thing about it is, it's like, okay, why are you fighting over delegates then? If you've already chosen before the delegates have chosen who they want to endorse, well, why even fight disenfranchising delegates? Like, there's no point in a delegate if you're just going to speak on behalf of them before an endorsing convention. Last I checked, she wasn't even endorsed in the last election, unless they did post-primary. She certainly didn't beat Steve Boyd. There was no endorsement. Well, Andy, fight on. We're with you there, brother. We'll probably want to have you on the show next week to talk about how it went.
Sounds good, Jake. I look forward to giving a report. And as I said, we want to move forward. We've worked. We've done the groundwork here in Otter County, and I think it's time to move forward.
Amen to that. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so listen, this is a thing that's so obvious to me when I meet Otter County people. Now, like, I knew Carol Hexum. I've known Nathan Miller maybe a little longer, Tammy. So I've known some of these people a little bit longer than the last 2 years. But most of these people I met in the last 2 years. And I'll tell you what, like, the more and more I meet these people, the more and more I believe their story. These are like good, red-blooded American truth tellers, okay? It's just so damn obvious to anyone on the outside looking at this going, oh, yeah, they're trying to screw them over. And I got to say,
it's such a bad look. I mean, this looks
look.
terrible. I mean, it's unbelievable to think that the Republican Party would openly do this. And, well, I guess they're not openly doing it. They're trying to do it in secret, trying to deceive people into what's really going on. It's unbelievable that they would be pushing this kind of resolution. And especially for Bobby Benson to be pushing this. What business does Bobby Benson have to do with Otter Country? It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
he
it
is
does
the
make sense to
CD6
us.
chair.
Yeah.
Right. There is,
and a paid staffer for Tom Emmer.
Right. So, I'm just saying that, you would think that this would be perhaps pushed by CD7 alone, but no. Bobby Benson is inserting himself, and of course Bobby Benson was the one behind the condemnation of Action for Liberty with lies and smears.
Yeah, so moronic Team Red cheerleaders literally say, oh, you guys are just doing more, or telling more lies to divide the party. It becomes more and more obvious to me every day that whatever you're being accused of by the swamp is exactly what they are doing.
Right.
Like, there's no bigger division than saying, hey, I know you showed up last Saturday, but too bad doesn't count. Like, that is what these people are doing. Jason Kirch says, Alex assured me on the phone what business happens at the convention would be recognized about 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Well, this is the problem. This is why gloves are coming off on Alex, is because he's two-faced. And you know what? I'm going to tell you right now. At 9 o'clock tonight on Action for Liberty's YouTube and Facebook page, I'm joining President Eric Mortensen, and we got a big truth bomb coming. Really important stuff. We're going to talk about some knowledge I have, courtesy Alex, about 1972-10. You're not going to want to miss this. And we're going to talk about exactly what's at play here. The Emmer people want to protect Michelle Fishbach, and they're willing to disenfranchise Otter County delegates. They're just part of this big game, which we call an incumbent re-election racket. You know what's interesting about this? I would say, this is my assessment. Alex, you've had a problem with Alex Plekish for a while, okay? My only understanding, Alex, is what I see when he came here in the studio last fall, was it? Last summer, whatever it was. He seemed like a confused guy that's not ready for the big game of politics. Politics is just gonna bulldoze over him, okay? But I do get the sense he kind of has a compass that points in the right direction, and he probably wants to follow that compass. That's my assessment. You can disagree. I don't know, Jesse. That's my assessment who Alex Plekish is. And the Tom Emmer people are using him. They realize we want all the power on the Republican Party ranks, okay? And Action for Liberty by far is the biggest threat to that. They can't have they can have the Democrats all day long. The Democrats are fine. They need a boogeyman, right? If they didn't have the Democrats, who are they going to fundraise against? We have to talk about Tim Walz. We have to talk about AOC. We have to talk about Ilhan Omar. People, we can't let those guys get in charge. Donate to us, the Republican Party. Sorry. Donate to us, Tom Emmer's re-election campaign or Michelle Fishbach's re-election campaign. They want a monopoly on center-right politics. What does Action for Liberty do? Hey, these guys are lying to you. They said they're for less government. They're growing government. And they can't have that. They can't have that dissension. We're just telling the truth. They can't have people understanding the truth. And so they would much rather get rid of Action for Liberty than the Democrats, because the Democrats are a necessary evil for them.
Right. It's never acceptable to, for any kind of agreement to say that you're going to disenfranchise delegates in exchange of anything that you're going to be getting out of Tom Emmer or any of these Rhino congressmen. We got a $10 Rumble Rant from Carol Hexam saying, unfortunately, the Republican Party isn't the party of truth and transparency anymore. We need to drain the swamp to remove the snakes and rats. We need to return to basic principles. And she's right on. And we got O'Bannon with a $5 Rumble Rant saying, are you saying that Emmer is behind 1972-10?
O'Bannon, I think we know what you're doing at 9 o'clock tonight. You need to tune in. Action for Liberty's Facebook page, our YouTube page, 9 o'clock tonight. We'll restream it on Truth Hurts as well. Listen, you guys will be interested in that story. It's worse. It's worse than that. And it's going to really expose the corruption at the Republican Party of Minnesota. The people that call us not Republicans, wait till you find out who the hell is behind 1972-10, a company that state central delegates in December voted to get the answer to and did not get the answer to from David Hand and still have not got the answer from Alex Plekish. Okay? We're going to gloves off. This thing's going to be very interesting. Moore and I are so excited to talk about this tonight. Okay? What I think Carol's saying is so great. The Republican Party gives some hope. The Democrats are so lost at this point. There's really good people at the grassroots level of the Republican Party. Carol's one of them, by the way. Okay? So really, it's about getting rid of the snakes and the rats, the people that are ruining the party. Now, remember, they don't care about limiting the size of scope in government. They care about keeping their little fiefdoms, their little power circles, okay? That's Tom Emmer's game, okay? So that is exactly what they are in the game of doing, is keeping the monopoly on center-right politics, and we're the largest threat to them, to the point where they're willing to get rid of duly elected delegates. So here comes Alex Plekish, and a guy who I really think's probably got a compass pointing in a certain direction, and he wants to follow that direction. I think he's too weak to do it. And and Action for Liberty's plea to him, embrace the grassroots, right? That is where power should be.
You know, hold on, let me finish
this statement.
Okay.
I understand, and this was the Action for Liberty's position, I understand you're going to work with Tom Emmer. He's an elected member. He's the third most powerful. We understand. You can work with them too. But you should embrace the grassroots. That's Action for Liberty's perspective. And Alex understands it. His people understand it, right? And he was very generous to even give Action for Liberty people tickets to the inauguration, which pissed off the Emmer people. The Emmer's position is you need to disown Action for Liberty. They can't participate in the process. As Wednesday Walter would say, they're a cancer and they must be removed from the party. That's the position of Tom Emmer. They can't even be part of the party. Well, you know what, Tom Emmer? Would you actually prefer we leave the party altogether and create a third party? I know you wouldn't want that. All you want us to do is shut up and allow you to continue on your monopoly on center-right politics. We're not going to do that. So Alex is in the middle of this two thing, and Alex is navigating it the wrong way. Now, once again, our position is you can work with them, but they're being unreasonable, Alex. They're the ones saying there's a line in the sand. You can't work with Action for Liberty. If that is the case, then you better start working with Action for Liberty.
And
if you're not going to speak out against this bullshit, then you're complicit with it. What are you doing at 8 o'clock Eastern time where you can't participate in this special meeting of State Central or State Executive?
Right.
You're the chairman of the party. Are you telling me Emmer's literally running the party while you're out in Washington, D.C. begging for more money? 9 o'clock tonight at Action for Liberty. Sorry, I wanted to get that out, Jesse. Yep. I had to get that
But
ran
this
out.
is, my point is that this is beyond Action for Liberty too. Even if these delegates were rhinos, if rhinos were being excluded from the party and being disenfranchised, we would still have the same exact position, because nobody should be disenfranchised from a position that they were duly elected to at their caucus. And some Otter County patriots are going to be skeptical of Plekish because he's backstabbed them once before. He said that I'm going to be bringing this to the State Executive Committee, and then when it came time to vote, while David Hand was chair, Plekish backstabbed them, and Plekish went along with the establishment plan to not allow them to participate in these conventions. So, we've seen the script before. Plekish is going to have to make a decision. He is either going to have to align himself with the grassroots, which he is choosing not to do right now, or he is going to have to be completely loyal to Emmer. There is no way to walk the fence on this one. You have to pick a side.
That's right. He's got to take a side. You got to step. What important meeting do you have in Washington, D.C. right now? That's the wrong answer to all this stuff. While this stuff is happening in Minnesota, you're out in Washington, D.C., hobnobbing with the swamp. Too bad.
Right. It proves proves he doesn't care about the grassroots. Yes.
If you're not going to do the right thing here, well, 9 o'clock tonight, just pay attention. Action for Liberty's Facebook page. This part of the show is brought to you by Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, give Warren a call at 612-419-7453. Dawson, Andy seems to want to take the opposite position of us in the signal thread gate debate. So if he joins, I said you could join us on the show. That'd be great to have Andy Parrish. Oh, he said okay. He's not in Zoom, right?
Different Andy.
Andy Parrish. Yeah, I know. We've had two Andys. I'll say Dawson sending you link. Okay, just Andy Parrish.
He has the link already.
I know. Or just last link.
If he looks up the last email I sent him.
So let's bring up this story on China Walz. You know, Jesse, there's some insights you have that are just so fascinating to me. You've been on top of this one for 2-3 years now. Like when no one was talking about this link, you kept talking about it. And it is a fair point. Why did Tim Walz go to China so much, especially when he was in the military?
Approved by the CCP. He wouldn't have been allowed to teach there if he wasn't approved by the CCP. And don't forget, what did the students call him in China? The foreign devil. He seems to say that was a compliment. People can find that in The Hill. That's been reported out there. That's not a fake news conspiracy. That's from Tim Walz's mouth that his own students in China would call him the foreign devil.
Okay, details revealed inside the CCP's United Front work in Minnesota. This is an article that was put together by Seamus Bruner, Jed McFadder, and Breitbart News Foundation. It's a joint investigation by Breitbart News and the Government Accountability Institute. Boy, isn't that a great picture up there? China Walz. All right. On the 1300 block of North Eustis Street in St. Paul, Minnesota, a 10-minute drive from the governor's mansion, sits a brutalist brick building that houses a secret Chinese Communist Party front operation that serves several functions for the CCP, none of them good for the United States. Here's an image of that building. I've seen that building before, by the way. Out of this building, CCP operatives curry favor with politicians like Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and provide various services for Chinese Americans in Minnesota who are still loyal to Beijing, including hosting meet and greets with CCP diplomats and dignitaries. Businesses registered at this address receive six-figure grants from American taxpayers. The building has been associated with a web of businesses and groups including the Alliance of Chinese Cultural and Arts, the Center for Community Service, and the Alliance of Minnesota Chinese Organizations. It's also the home of the Overseas Chinese Service Center of Minnesota, Minnesota OCSC. Are you familiar with them, Jesse? I think you've talked about them before. The Chinese police.
Right. Yeah. Yep. I think we have discussed that.
Which apparently works under the umbrella of the CCP's net right now. I'm just reporting what Breitbart's doing. This story dropped, I believe, this morning, so I haven't had enough time to actually do my own investigation. 26 March looks like probably came out last night. But I do want to dig into this story and learn more, and maybe we'll have one of the authors on our show. According to a recently released U.S. House Oversight Committee report, United Front work is carried out by a vast network, including through the United Front Work Department and Chinese intelligence services, including the Ministry of Public Security and the Ministry of State Security. The Ministry of Public Security has been likened to China's FBI, while the Ministry of State Security is more like China's CIA. I think it goes without saying, we have these kind of entities in the United States. China clearly has these entities in the United States. We clearly have CIA operatives overseas in China and other places. They clearly have them here. Am I saying something? Dawson, you're a skeptic of a lot of things in politics. Am I saying something out of line here? That sounds pretty reasonable to say that, right?
That we have people over there and they have people over here.
Correct, yeah. Okay, all right. So, and it just happens to know, and I've seen reporting on these entities from China, and in China being a communist country, yes, I do want trade with foreign nations, but China is a specifically interesting nation in the sense that it is a complete Marxist, well, I shouldn't say complete. They allow markets enough where it helps with prosperity, but at any point the government is literally authoritarian. All right, Chinese dictator Xi Jinping describes United Front work as one of the CCP's magic weapons that helps undermine the sovereignty and integrity of the political system of targeted states. President of the Jamestown Foundation and former CIA counterintelligence analyst Peter Mattis says that United Front work, quote, damages U.S. interests through legal and illegal technology transfer, surveillance of Chinese, diaspora communities, promotion of favorable narratives about the PRC through ostensibly independent voices, and the neutralization or harassment of the critics of the CCP. I'm going to move down here because I want to get to Minnesota. Okay, the Minnesota OCSC, okay, once again, Overseas Chinese Service Centers. I'm sorry, I better read this. The New York Secret Police Station and the Minnesota Service Center appear on the same globalist list of Overseas Chinese Service Centers that has been posted to websites affiliated with CCP. I swear to God you reported about this at some point on the show.
Yeah, it's been a while, but we have definitely talked about it.
The Minnesota OCSC apparently spreads pro-CCP propaganda in the U.S. For example, Philip Linzinski of the Daily Caller reported that Chinese Foreign Ministry documents reveal the Minnesota OCSC as a propaganda chief named Ding Qing. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Ding King? Ding King? Queen? You know more about Asian culture than me. Ding King?
I don't know.
No?
I don't know.
That propaganda chief is affiliated with and attends events at the Eustis Street Outpost. In September 2022, the Minnesota OCSC hosted then Chinese ambassador to the U.S., King Gang, when he made the Minnesota OCSC his very first stop on his first visit to Minnesota. The Minnesota OCSC also served as a title sponsor and or co-hosting organizations for other events featuring CCP delegates, diplomats, and dignitaries, including Chicago Consul General. I'm not going to skip over that part. A bunch of people that we don't know. Deputy Consul General Yu Ping, Propaganda Chief Ding King, and others shared a stage with then gubernatorial candidate Representative Tim Walz less than 6 weeks before Election Day 2018. Upon winning election, Governor Tim Walz invited Consul General Liu Jun to an inaugural ceremony. Scroll down here, Dawson. We're going to get to the picture of him with the doctor. Keep going down. Chinese Foreign Ministry reveals that when Walz was elected governor, acting Consul General Liu Jun congratulated Governor Walz and expressed his expectation to strengthen cooperation with the new Minnesota government to jointly promote the friendly and cooperative relations between Minnesota and China. The head of the Minnesota OCSC is a man who goes by the name Bingwen Yun. Boy, I'm just having a hell of a fun time with all these names here. I didn't see that as part of my day, but this thing popped up on a radar. We had to talk about it. Who's a PhD. Dr. Yun and his associates have embedded themselves in political circles in Minnesota, and Dr. Yun is a recent political donor to Governor Walz, Senator Amy Klobuchar, 2020 presidential primary candidate Andrew Yang, Republican Minnesota State Representative Kelly Fenton, former, and 2018 Republican U.S. Senate candidate Karen Housley, who's obviously a state senator right now. Governor Walz has been photographed repeatedly with Minnesota OCSC head Dr. Yan, propaganda chief Ding King, and other Minnesota OCSC operatives. Here's a picture with Dr. Is this fundraiser with Ding King? And then scroll down. There's a bunch of them. And then another photo here. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. And you guys can go read this. Is on Breitbart.
Right, and this shouldn't come as any surprise. Tim Walz has never had a critical word to say about China in his entire life. He's a communist. He's a part of the, he's a puppet and a loyalist to China. He is China first, America. I don't even know if he's America second. So this comes as no surprise to me. This is just another, he's been connected with them for decades. And, of course, they see that he is perhaps the friendliest governor to the Chinese policies behind Gavin Newsom. So this is no surprise here. But this cannot be allowed. I mean, hopefully President Trump and the Department of Justice can get these Chinese cops out of our country and state. That kind of stuff should not be happening at all.
Tucker says Jake sounds like he's having a stroke trying to pronounce those names. Yeah, it's challenging. I gotta say, it's like I have to rehearse. Luckily they weren't Russian names. I'd really struggle with those ones. Yeah, I think we need to do more on this story, and maybe we should reach out to the author, because this one's a tricky one to kind of wrap your head around. And there's actually already a
maybe
part
we'll
two.
have to do some on the ground and actually visit the building.
That's
and see
not
what's
a bad
going
idea.
on.
Let's do it. Yeah, there's a part 2 to the story as well. So go check this out. Breitbart News. This next segment's brought to you by John Galt Mortgage. If you're looking to buy a home in the good old of US of A, they're licensed in almost every state at this point. You can go to johngaltmortgage.com or check out their great social media game on both Facebook and X. Do we have Andy Parrish?
Let me look. Yeah, we have him.
We do have Andy. Okay. I'm so glad, because I thought maybe Jesse and I would disagree on this issue, and it sounds like we agree on it. But Andy, I think, is taking the opposite position. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh my God, look at that! You change your background every time you come on the show, but that one's pretty good.
Oh, actually, this is a new one now, and this is the one we're sticking with. So,
and you must be in a studio, because your sound is like fantastic. Like you could tell it's
because it is. Because I'm fantastic, but I think that I'm mad on behalf of all your viewers, Jake, because I think you have the sexiest viewers on Rumble, and you forget to remind them of that.
What do you
I
mean?
would tell them that regularly.
What do you mean? The sexiest viewers on Rumble?
I just say, man, if you just look at them, they are the sexiest people you're ever going to find, and they're following your show.
Are you talking about Tucker 91? Is that what you're saying?
I'm talking about everybody watching your program.
Well,
They're just
Tucker 91 is one of those
sexiest people.
Okay, there
All
you
right
go.
then. All right.
So many things you could have said there, like most intelligent, most patriotic. What does he go
Well,
with?
that's just
He goes with
that's a
sexy.
given. That's
Okay.
a given.
All right. This show's already going in the opposite direction.
So what do I have to correct you on today,
This
Jake?
is my
The
best
signal
buddy
gate?
from college. Can you imagine this?
Yeah.
Can you imagine us back in college together? Like, by the way, we had a radio show. And I was more hardcore than Andy because by the time I
We
took
had
over
a
the radio
radio
show, they
show,
kicked
or
me off.
I had a radio show. Which one was it?
We had...
Because you blew it.
I did, yeah. They kicked me off air after the first episode senior year. Oh, man, it was so good.
That's
All right.
Jake.
Tucker.
Hey, I can't see it. Dawson, can you turn the camera on?
No, I don't think they don't get a view of us, do they?
No, I'm fixing it.
I don't think so.
There we go.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, you can. Okay, I don't even know. I never.
So what am I fixing you on today, Jake? What am I correcting you on?
Okay, well, let's talk about this here. Let's see here. Pull up Dawson. Well, you know what, Jesse, you put this segment together. Why don't you introduce the subject?
Well, let's see. Go ahead and pull up that first one in this section here, Dawson.
C1.
I think it's the C1. Yeah. This is from the BBC. They have also reported on the. They've reported on the leaked messages. Go ahead and scroll down. Because the Atlantic is, they got a little bit of a paywall, and this was much easier for people to view.
People understand what Signal is, right? Signal is a great messaging app on the phone, and you could have it on your computer, and it sends encrypted messages between the users, okay?
Allegedly.
Well, it does. It's just that it's not a level of encryption that others can't hack into, right? Infamously, Tucker Carlson's Signal was hacked by the government, okay? But that's what it's for. It's not for classified information dissemination, but it's for people like us who maybe don't want people with the basic knowledge of hacking to get through. Okay, so
Jake, let me just correct one thing there. Everything is hackable. Everything is hackable.
Well, that's fair, but there are
everything is, even our secure rooms and
but there are platforms for classified information. You at least understand that, right?
Well, of course I do. I mean, of course. I mean, I've worked with classified information just like you have. I mean, yeah, there are special rooms, but it's not realistic for these guys to carry a comms tent around with them for real-time information. And so, I had said this isn't a big deal, but I'm going to give it back to Jesse and let Jesse keep going here.
Yeah, no, so this is kind of interesting. We can go through a little bit of the messages here. So Michael Walz is obviously the National Security Director, and he is the one who has put together this group chat on Signal labeled Houthis PC small group. And the very first thing that he's doing is he is requesting that all of the people within this chat are allowed to, that they label who their best point of contact will be for the team to be able to coordinate with them. And Michael Walz says in here, Alex Wong is putting together the team. We'll get to Alex Wong in just a minute. So you can see some of the people who are listed here. MAR, that's Marco Rubio. JD Vance. TG is Tulsi Gabbard. To my understanding, Joe Kent has not received Senate confirmation. So unless she is appointing a different Joe Kent, it's a little bit strange to think that someone who has not received clearance, or he'd have some sort of clearance. He's a CIA guy, but you'd have to wonder what exactly is going on there since he hasn't officially been nominated to the position.
Is he acting, though?
No, he's not acting. No.
Okay.
And
just because he hasn't been confirmed doesn't mean he can't serve. He can serve until he's confirmed or not confirmed.
Well, right. He could. That's right. He could serve within the department, probably not within the specific position being appointed to, which, like we're saying, he has not been. He's not acting and whatnot. But go ahead and scroll down, Dawson. So all these people list out who their point of contact is going to be for their given department. Michael Walz says, team, you should have a statement of conclusions with tasking per the president's guidance this morning in your high side inboxes. State and DOD, we developed and suggested notification lists for regional allies and partners. Joint staff is sending this to an even more specific sequence of events in the coming days, and we will work with DOD to ensure COS, OVP, and POTUS are briefed. So J.D. Vance then gets involved here, and what he is saying is that he thinks that this could potentially be a mistake. He doesn't want to bail Europe out is generally the point of what he is trying to make. He's talking about trade, saying that there's some economic concerns and that this should be delayed for a month to see where the economy is at and consider all other factors. Go and continue to scroll down. Joe Kent then says basically an agreement that there's nothing time sensitive that's drawing that would require immediate U.S. involvement. John Ratcliffe from the CIA is saying a delay would not negatively impact the U.S. and additionally, additional time would be used to identify better starting points for coverage on the Houthi leadership. Then we get Pete Hegseth, who is obviously the Secretary of the Department of Defense. What he is saying here is, VP, I understand your concerns and fully support you raising with POTUS. Important considerations, most of which are tough to know how they will play out. He says economy, Ukraine peace, Gaza, etc. I think messaging is going to be tough no matter what. Nobody knows who the Houthis are, which is why we would need to stay focused on number one, Biden failed. Number two, Iran funded. Then he continues on saying that waiting a few weeks or a month would not immediately change the calculus, that they're prepared to execute, and that he says that if I had the final decision on whether to go or not go, Pete Hegseth says that he would do it. Michael Waltz jumps back in talking about the trade figures and continues scrolling because JD Vance says, at Pete Hegseth, if you think we should do it, let's do it. I just hate bailing out Europe. And then JD Vance says something that doesn't sound very America first to me. He says, let's just make sure our messaging is tight here. And if there are things we can do up front to minimize risk to Saudi oil facilities, we should do it. Which obviously I understand we have a relationship with Saudi Arabia, and oil is a massive commodity in this entire world. And those considerations are things to be made. But
Jesse, who's representing APEC in this thread?
I don't know. I'd guess John Ratcliffe.
All of them.
Yeah. And then let's see. Pete Hegseth continues on, VP. I fully share your loathing of the European freeloading. It's pathetic, but Mike is correct. We are the only leaders on the planet on our side of the ledger who can do this. Nobody else can come close. Question is timing. I feel as if now is as good of time as any given POTUS's direction to reopen shipping lanes. I think we should go, but POTUS still retains a 24 hours of decision space.
Scroll down there, Dustin.
And you know what's interesting is this kind of stuff gives an insight into what really goes on behind the scenes, what some of these discussions are like. And continuing on here, go ahead and scroll just a little bit down right there for Pete Hegseth's message there. He says, team update, time now, 11:44 Eastern. Weather is favorable, just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are a go for mission launch. And then he starts discussing the actual plans that are listed in there. Godspeed to our warriors.
Including F-18s launching, which to me is classified information.
Right. It seems a little odd. And you know, so
keep in mind that look at the original time, Jake, that he says up there, that he talks about when they're launching. You're not talking about days ahead of time here. You're talking minutes, right. Literally 30 minutes.
Well,
if that were to leak out, what could possibly be done by any one of our enemies?
No. Scroll down.
I mean, I'm not a Pete Hegseth fan, but I've got a lot to say about this. Yeah.
No, this is hours in front of it.
No, it's not. Scroll back up, 11:44.
Where are you seeing 11:44?
Time now, 11:44 Eastern. Weather is confirmed.
Yeah, but 12:15.
1:20.
12:15 is what was that? 30 minutes
half hour
advance. Then you have another hour and a half. Like these are hours in advance.
Yeah. What are the Houthis going to do, Jake? And with an hour notice, or what is anyone in the Middle East going to do with an hour's notice?
Should this be tweeted out ahead of time?
No, absolutely not. Look, I'm not saying. So here's where I'm going with this. The gentleman who created the group chat is the one who made the mistake.
Right.
It's not Hegseth, and if he made the mistake by adding somebody that he shouldn't have. I don't understand
why Hegseth would be using Signal for something like that.
And I see what Andy's saying. He is under the assumption that this is a secure chat. He's under the assumption that he's only talking with people within the administration.
Is this commonplace in DC to use Signal for classified?
But hold on. Their phones that they have, every one of those individuals who has a phone that's in that chat has a secure line. So the line is secure, and they're using Signal to communicate to make it even further secure. And so
it's
for
clearly
me,
not. Wait, hold on. It's clearly not secure. There's a journalist in it.
Right.
Well,
And
because somebody was wrongly added. I mean, that can you can misdial someone
but
on a
then
conference call with a secure line, Jake.
Two things that are contrary to it. You're saying it's secure, but at the same point, it can't be secure because you have people that don't have a right to know it.
No, I think Andy's saying that
it's secure. It's secure from the standpoint that nobody from the outside, unless they're invited, can access it, just like any other secure call.
That's not that. Okay,
right. I think
I know
Andy
a lot more
is saying
about this.
it's more secure than text messaging, is what I think Andy's saying. That it adds a level of security.
It
might add a level of security, but classified information only passes through clear devices that are secure. This would not meet that.
Those devices are secure. Those phones they used are secure
information.
lines.
For classified information? No, not at all.
More than any comms tent, they can pop up anywhere. If your sexy listeners don't know, a comms tent is.
That's incorrect. That's incorrect. That is 100% incorrect. The classified information does not pass through a channel where where someone who doesn't have access to it, a clearance, can get it.
Jake, again, even in a comms tent, and you know this, you can misdial somebody and you can accidentally, advertently add somebody. That's just the way it is.
You keep using the term comms tent. Now, my background is from the military. I'm assuming you're saying something that's similar to a T-skiff, a tactical
That's
skiff.
what it is. Yeah, they travel with every one of these guys, and they call it a comms tent where they can pop it up and have secure communications.
Okay,
right? But I mean,
those
they're
secure
big.
communications are on devices that someone without a classified or without a clearance can't get into.
So, Jake, you're saying...
Jake, if the president of the United States wanted to call me, he could call me, and the line would be secure.
Okay, if the president of the United States...
So I'm saying he was just misadded was what happened.
No, here, first of all...
It's not secure.
First of all, it's not secured,
right?
But there's a problem with what you just said. The president actually can declassify information. He is the classifying authority.
Right, he's the final one, right?
Correct. So if he wants to make that statement, he can. What I'm saying is, I see this and I go, how's this different than Clinton? They are sending classified information over unsecured lines to the point where somebody who doesn't even have a security clearance was added to a group chat. This is just
Jake,
like a level of incompetence that's unbelievable.
Jake, look, again, the mistake was made when they added the individual improperly, okay? The reality of this is that every communication through their government-issued phones, now if they weren't on government-issued phones, a whole different story. But everything on their government-issued phones is rerouted through the DOD. It's rerouted through many different networks. It's actually scrambled, sent around. The phones themselves are secure.
I think you.
That's all I'm saying is that you cannot
keep using a term, but you don't know what it means.
I do.
No, it can't be secured because it literally can go to somebody that's not inside that security parameter.
Jake, what I'm saying, but Jake, that could happen in any. If they were in a,
no,
if they
it
were
can't.
in a,
you were
Jake,
a chief of staff. I assume handling classified information. You realize it's not an internet; it's an intranet. That's how you operate. You're not people out from the outside the security world can't get in there. I can't email someone on Gmail from a classified computer for very good reasons. So you can't.
That is again. That is the network that is secure, and that's what's running through it. Yes, you have an internet, but I can tell you that their phones
they're clearly not on that because they were able to add someone that's not got a security clearance.
Right, and Becky Hack has a good point.
Possibly.
She says,
so I mean, the only way I can think that would happen. The only way I can think that would happen is if somebody wasn't on their government-issued phone. That's about the only way I think, and it could go back to this Michael guy. But
okay, so now I see what you're saying. Is you're saying that. Okay, so you are agreeing with me that somebody was breaking protocol. Go to what Becky Hack.
Yeah, she says.
Yeah,
so our
I
government
said that from the start.
Yeah, Becky Hack says, so our government is so inept that they can't create a message app that only includes the secure government phones. Got it. Which, I think the same thing.
I don't trust the government to do that. When you brought up Signal,
it's strange that they have to rely on a private company, Signal, to be doing this. I mean, there were presidents before Signal.
I'm curious if this is the only way they have to communicate, because there has to be a government.
No, I mean, there's more cumbersome ways, Dawson. There are more ways, but these are real-time updates. And like Jake was talking about with the secure room, each one of those guys travels with a security detail that has one of these rooms. They can pop up anywhere.
The problem I have with this, the problem I have with this is clearly this was a breach of a security practice. If an airman sorry, F-18. If a Navy man aboard one of those aircraft carriers who is privy to the plans, by the way, not what this was the other thing that really bugged me, is they lied about it after the fact. Some of these, like Pete Hegseth, like, oh, this guy's got it all wrong. They're just coming after us. And then they start saying, well,
to be
these
fair,
aren't war
they call
plans.
it war
it's like,
plans.
Yeah, I know,
they're
but they're not war plans
plans
because we're not at war, right?
Right.
Congress,
I mean, they're not.
they're strike plans, right?
Right.
Okay. So someone that was privy to these strike plans on a Navy aircraft carrier, if they were to tweet that out or they were to message that out to friends, would they not be in a whole world of trouble, probably jail time?
Again, it's a giant difference from tweeting something out to your friends than it is believing you're having a secure conversation with, and PC stands for primary committee, by the way.
Well, this is the
the primary committee in charge of this.
This is the beauty of the laws on classified documents and classified information is even complete incompetence still puts you in the doghouse. This was what the FBI director at the time. What was the FBI director that Trump canned? He was saying that Hillary Clinton's not going to be prosecuted because she didn't knowingly not follow statutes. Jim Comey. And it wasn't at all what the statutes say. U.S. Code.
Yeah, ignorance is no excuse for the law, right? I mean,
right.
Ignorance is no excuse for the law.
Well, especially when you're Hillary Clinton, because you know what you're doing is wrong. She was doing it wrong. I don't see much difference. I mean, I'm sure there's way more stuff that was leaked through Hillary Clinton, but this was leaked.
Here's the major problem, right? I don't have a problem with the Signal app being used if they were all on their government phones, because you're right. They shouldn't have been able to add somebody who didn't have that clearance if they were all on their government phones. Number two, the journalist, and I'm not going to repeat his name because I'm not going to give him any credit for it, and this was the focus of my show this morning. This dude published this stuff, and I believe that's a crime. This is not a matter of...
Why is it a crime?
Well, because it's not free speech. It's not transparency.
Yes,
this is a matter of national security. And so he had information
that... These are a direct threat to our national security.
Plus, weren't you the one that said, oh, well, it was just minutes before. What could they have done?
Well, I was, but what I'm saying is that we can't allow journalists. And look, Jake, if you got classified docs when you were in Iraq or classified information that you shouldn't have had, what would you do? There's a protocol to delete it and report it to your superior officer.
Well, that's because I signed something saying that I wouldn't. I am the one that has the information and signed something. But if a journalist...
I signed the same thing. I had to delete it and report it.
A journalist has a different ethical code than somebody in the military. Although you could make the argument this person military, if they're doing something wrong, has a code. But the journalist doesn't have the code of, I need to protect classified information, much of which has nothing to do with national security, including this.
I'd have to look at I would actually want to see the case law on that, because I'm not quite sure. I mean, you could be right. I just don't know.
Here's how we know we're right. Hold on. You just have to look at Article 1, or the U.S. Constitution and the First Amendment. You have freedom of press. You can't stop.
It doesn't free the press to do whatever they want. I mean, we have libel and slander laws. We have all sorts of things, Jake.
If they don't obtain information illegally, they have the right to release that information. Now, there's a moral compass here.
He didn't legally obtain it, so.
What's that?
He didn't legally obtain it. He didn't have proper clearance to have it. So.
The hell he didn't.
He didn't have proper clearance to be in there. He should have left.
It looks like it was.
He has no. There's no written. There's nothing that says. Okay, first of all, he was added, right? He didn't like I think the legal activity would be he hacked it, which no one is accusing of happening. He was accidentally added by Mike Walz. Sometimes I wonder if it was accidentally, by the way. So he was accidentally added. How is the onus on him?
Right. If I was added to a group chat with Tom Emmer, Pete Stopper, Michelle Fischbach, and Brad Finstad, I'd probably keep my mouth quiet and see what they have to say.
Probably be the dumbest conversation you were ever partaking in, too.
Yeah, probably
would be.
But the Gully 45 has a great point. He or she says, this argument is stupid. You don't know. The story is about exposing Walz. He's dirty, and I want to expand on that.
Yeah,
Dawson, let's go to the
I can expand on that because it just came out that this guy, not only his Venmo is public, but he's got cash payments from journalists in his Venmo now.
Right.
And so that's going to be an issue. Why are journalists giving him cash over Venmo? Look, my point, if I can just go slightly uninterrupted, Jake, is that this is not as big of a deal as the media is proclaiming this to be.
It's a big deal.
Right.
The phones, to my knowledge, unless somebody used a personal phone, are secure. and the Signal app is secure, and communications has to change all the time in the way we do it.
I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna interrupt you.
I know,
It
please.
wasn't. It
You can do it, Dawson.
It wasn't secure. Like the app itself, nobody can hack in. Nobody can hack into it. You know that security is there, but
Yeah,
why
you're
aren't
right.
they just on like a big? Like my phone just over SMS can do group chats.
Yeah,
and
let me
stuff,
clarify.
so-
Pete Hegseth, even though I'm not a fan of Pete, I was against his nomination from the beginning. I'm not a fan of him. But Pete did believe that he was on a secure line. And this wasn't the first time that they had used this. I can guarantee you that. And he did believe that it was secure.
But
And
this is
so-
what confuses me, Andy. How does the Secretary of Defense understand it's secure when me, who I haven't been in the military since 2013, know that that's not secure?
You don't,
that's
Jake, we
not
don't.
my-
Mike
beyond
Walz.
me.
You know, I want to get back to it's
All
about
right,
Mike
sorry.
Walz. And Dawson, please pull up the C2 because Mike Walz is on Fox News talking with Laura Ingraham, and he is taking responsibility for this. And you know, this is maybe a sign that they shouldn't be texting at all. As we're saying that phone lines are secure, these texting lines obviously are not. So I wonder if these government officials should be texting at all on anything related to business. So
Shouldn't.
go ahead and play this. Let's start out just getting a little bit of it here because Mike Walz is admittedly taking responsibility.
You won't be able to hear this, Andy.
That's fine.
One of the principals who was on that Signal chat, National Security Advisor Mike Walz. Advisor Walz, thank you for joining us tonight. The president expressed complete confidence in you today and his entire cabinet. But how did a Trump-hating editor of The Atlantic end up on your Signal chat?
You know, Laura, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but of all the people out there, somehow this guy who has lied about the president, who has lied to Gold Star families, lied to their attorneys, and gone to Russia hoax, gone to just all kinds of links to lie and smear the president of the United States, and he's the one that somehow gets on somebody's contact and then gets sucked into this group.
Is someone in your intel? Is someone in your intel team trying to cause trouble here? Because that's the scuttlebutt out there.
Look,
that there's
we have people. We have people. No, look, this is a great group. The president has a great team. This is not first
No,
term.
your team. I'm
Okay,
not talking
can you
about
pause
the
it
other
real
principals.
No. These were.
Jesse, are we going to learn something from this, or am I just going to listen to more of his bullshit?
No, that's
Well, he's just an
that
idiot.
basically covers
Yeah,
about
because
it. Enough of what we need to hear there.
I don't
because,
like listening to people like
right,
that.
he is not going to really answer the question when Laura Ingraham is asking him, have you ever talked to this guy before? Do you know anything about him? And he basically just ends up repeating himself that, no, I don't talk to this guy, and that all I know of him is his reputation of Trump. He's trying to make this a political thing rather than dealing with the
But you said
substance
he
of the
took
issue.
Ownership of it.
well, he
When did he
does,
take
yeah.
own? Does he actually
took-
own
in
up to it?
that- I saw that clip yesterday. He took responsibility of it, but
Yes.
he opened it by saying somehow this guy
Yeah.
got in, and
Right.
so he's having.
And-
Wait, hold on. For the record, did he take full responsibility, like Dan Wolgamott for his DUI? Because did he just take partial, or did he take full responsibility? I want to know. That is like
He says
when
in
a
there, I
when a
take full-
politician says they take full responsibility, they never do, because that should be followed by "and I resign from my office." They don't take full responsibility. Let's go to the Rumble rant here.
Yeah, we got a $5 Rumble Rant. Phil Can says, is this what it's like being in the dorm with you guys? The guy who added the reporter should be fired, and the Signal app should not be. And the Signal app cannot be secure if a reporter can be added to a thread from an unsecure
Thanks, Phil
phone.
Kennedy. Yes, this is what it was like in college with Andy, like arguing common
This is
sense.
no. I mean, look, Jake.
and he's taking the
I
opposite
agree.
position.
I agree with your listener. I agree with you. I was under the look. I'm saying if they were all using their government phones, that would have been secure. Somebody wasn't, and I'm reading right now. Michael Waltz's Venmo friends list includes just an assload of journalists, and that's what's scary to me.
Right.
Why does this guy's Venmo friends have so many journalists on here? Is he selling information? I think that, or is he
So what do we
leaking
think's going on
information? I
here?
don't know,
Well,
but
let me get to it here.
Okay.
The C3. Let's go ahead and go to the C3 here because we can actually find the truth out from Laura Loomer. There is a guy who works, as I had mentioned before, who works for Michael Walz, who is Alex Wong. And it appears as if Alex Wong might have been the individual who actually added this journalist into here. Let's listen to just the first minute or two of this here.
I don't understand why the Trump administration, given President Trump's orders to fire and get rid of everybody from the FBI and the DOJ who was involved in persecuting and going after January 6ers, why he's allowed to have this position as the Deputy National Security Council advisor when his wife was involved in persecuting and going after January 6ers. She clerked for Justice Sotomayor, who called President Trump a white supremacist. So at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, who's doing the vetting here? And why is there so much nepotistic garbage that is basically creating a bunch of filth within the inner circle for Donald Trump? It just seems like there's this pattern, this very unfortunate scenario where people who have serious conflicts of interest or conflicts as it relates to individuals and their family are allowed to surround the president, jeopardizing our own national security, but then actual loyalists are kept out of working with President Trump. The second part of the investigation that I published today, looking into Alex, who also used to work for Covington and Burling, which is one of the law firms that President Trump rescinded their security clearance and blocked them from getting any more federal contracts. So you have a guy who works for a firm that was stripped of their, security clearance, okay? And this guy who used to work for them is now the Deputy National Security Advisor and an assistant to the President of the United States. I don't know how the geniuses who work for...
Alex Wong is clearly the person who needs to be discussed here. And Alex Wong is definitely a threat, and he's a deep state actor who's within the Trump administration. Michael Waltz is a deep state actor himself, too. I was not happy when he was selected in the first place, and it's we're starting to see this bear some light. Hopefully, I hope that President Trump takes this opportunity to say a signature line, "You're fired," and deliver someone who is actually America first. We do not want someone who is tied to these journalists. We do not want someone who is tied to the January 6th prosecutions. And considering that Trump had rescinded the access that his law firm had before, this is not the type of person that we want to see within the Trump administration.
1 second, Dustin. Tucker says, fun fact, Mike Waltz's brother-in-law is the lead singer of band Creed, Scott Stapp. I didn't realize that. I just fact-checked it. It's true.
I like Creed.
And O'Ban says, fun fact, Creed sucks. Tucker says, I agree. I dare you to go listen to My Own Prison Again, which is a fantastic 90s album, and tell me Creed sucks. Okay? I understand the reputation they got in, what was that, late 90s, early 2000s, but listen to My Own Prison and tell me that's not a good rock album. I hate you if you dare say Creed wasn't a good rock band. All right,
Creed was awesome.
They were a good band. I get it. I understand the way they went, but my God, My Own Prison's a great album. Go ahead, Dustin.
I missed it probably. The Wong guy, he's responsible for the guy being added to the group.
Yeah, that's what's being said. So yeah, he's the deputy to Michael Waltz, and
so that would mean that the.
Well, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that in the slightest bit.
Is the one who is under this profile here.
Right. Yeah. No, I know. I'm not exactly sure. I think maybe what it is that the Alex Wong was the one who originally made the group. So maybe that's the connection there.
But he was added. Walz was added later, or Michael Waltz added this guy later.
Right. And Waltz is basically saying that it was a mislabeled contact, saying that it was an imported contact from somebody else. But none of this makes any sense, and it's clear that Michael Waltz is not America first. He's not got our best interest in mind, and he needs to be replaced.
See, that's the most logical explanation I can come up with too. Is like, just they were looking at a contacts list, and it was like just initials or something that they got mixed up. No matter what, though, that's still like, are you serious? Like, this could have been something else.
Right, and Waltz won't tell us. He won't say, he didn't tell Laura Ingraham who was supposed to be in that chat. He said that he was mistaken for someone else, this journalist. But Michael Waltz does not tell us who that person should be, who that person actually should have been. Which, considering the fact that these messages are already out there, it wouldn't be any new information to, really tell us what's going on there. It wouldn't be any issue. So there's something going on that they don't want to tell us.
So do we disagree in the end, Andy? I mean, this is a fireable offense. You think Mike Walz has to?
No, I'm not saying that it's not. I'm saying this is not as big of a deal as people made it out to be.
Well, I think it is a big deal.
I don't think it's nearly as big. It's not a war plan, Jake. It's
it's not a war plan because we're not at war, and that's the reason they're tiptoeing around this, because if we were at war, Congress didn't declare war. But it is clearly a military strike.
We're not even in a conflict. I mean, it's a military strike.
It doesn't matter what the hell it is. They're talking about movement of F-18s. That's classified information.
All right. You know what? I will say this. I will say that if I was there, sure, I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have done it this way. You wouldn't have done it this way. I don't want them doing it this way in the future, but I'm saying this is not as big of a deal as people are saying.
But the law prohibits them from doing it because they're not using a classified form of communication.
Well, and that's what we got to find out is who wasn't using their government phone.
No, I know.
That's what we have to find out.
You keep going back to that. You don't understand what you're talking about here on this case.
I do.
No, you don't have Signal. You don't have a common app, but have some that are classified phones and some that aren't. It's all internal. Because this thing can't.
And Jake, what I'm telling you is that
this would happen often.
Jake, what I'm telling you is all cell phone traffic and data is rerouted through Pentagon servers that these guys have. Whether it cleans it, whatever it does, I don't know, but it is all VPN and rerouted right through there.
You don't know what you're talking about on that.
Well, I do know I know that all the data. I'm saying technically, I don't know how, but I know it all runs through their servers.
The fact that they could even be on a cell phone with classified information, it'd be like, well, what if someone's looking over you? You got to have security.
No different than a laptop. I mean,
right. And where do you use those laptops?
You use those on a government network where all the data is routed, just like their phones are.
You don't do it at a Starbucks, right?
Right, absolutely not.
I have
no. I mean, if you're going to use a government computer, look, you only use government-approved Wi-Fi and government-approved networks. Otherwise, your computer isn't even going to work. Like, mine wouldn't even work in some areas.
But I would assume that...
O'Bannon says move on.
Yeah.
Well, I want to show consistency because, like... and I don't think Trump's really made much statement other than standing by his guy, which is somewhat foolish, or maybe that's not foolish, just the way that you operate as a leader. But I don't want to be ever accused of being
the cynic in me is saying, what are we trying to disguise? What's the look over here, people? Because what was disclosed wasn't all that bad.
I know. I always think that same thing, Andy. These days.
That's where my mind is going is, okay, what are they getting our attention for over here that they hope we don't see over here?
Yeah.
So how big of a deal is it to you, Andy? Like you say, it's not a big deal, but
as far as national security is concerned, like I said, it's a big deal, but it's not a big enough deal for me that the media is making it this big of a deal. Mistakes are going to happen.
So people are talking about it too much?
That's how I feel about it, yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Well, as long as that's the way
I feel that they're making this a bigger offense than it needs to be.
I think it is a big deal.
If this happened under the Biden house, people would be pissed.
You know, that's the way I see
it.
That's the way I see it, Dawson, is I feel like if this happened under Biden, Conservative Inc. would be nonstop for a week talking about how all our national secrets are out there. That's why I just want to show. I want to show consistency here.
If it happened under Biden, the journalist would have never have released it. I can assure you, stupider things happened under Biden,
and that's probably true too. Yes,
unless it was a right winger.
O'Bannon says the only thing worse than listening to you argue this point is if Creed was the bumper music.
Is what?
Is that if Creed was the bumper music? Oh my God!
Why aren't you talking about Allie Ray's Do Rudy, the newest deport out of Alabama? That's what I'm talking about on tomorrow's show.
All right, you want to hold over for the post show? We could talk about that.
Sure.
Okay, very good. Yes, sorry guys. I thought this was an interesting
somebody wanted to know what it was like
topic.
living with me and Jake. True story. We argued for about 3 hours, completely hammered out of our minds over artificial turf versus grass.
Save it for that's not even true. That's not true at all.
It is 100% true.
Oh God, whatever. All right.
That was the night I stood in front of the fire hydrant.
All right, if you want to hear some college war stories, stick around for a post show. If you are a premium subscriber, if you're not, you can go to Rumble and click on join on the top. Otherwise, you can go to truthhurtsnews.com.
Oh, and I got one more announcement too.
Go ahead.
If they haven't had their fill of MAGA Jesse quite yet today, they can go and check me out on the Professor Penn podcast, which is premiering tonight. Jake, you were on a libertarian podcast, is that right?
Yeah, I did the Libertarian Party of Minnesota's podcast last night with Rebecca, who I want to have on the show again. She's awesome.
Yep. So plenty of content coming out on top of the big announcement that Jake and Mort will be making tonight.
Yes, and I am definitely CIA Gully 45, 100%, no doubt. Thanks to our Rumble Rants. Get the Rumble Rants people. Figure that out here so we can give shout outs.
Yeah.
Also, don't miss it tonight, 9 o'clock on Action for Liberty's Facebook and YouTube page. Mort and me discussing big truth bomb. You guys will want to hear this. This is damning information. Go ahead.
Yep.
Jesse.
It was O'Bannon, Phil Cannett, O'Bannon again, Carol Hexam, Billy 22, and that's it. So thank you guys all for tuning in.
I thought we had. Oh, it is Billy 22. Okay.
Yep.
I was gonna say we had. I can't think of his handle right now. Oh, Bad Hat Harry. I was thinking his actual name, Bad Hat Harry. I saw him in the comment section. I don't know if Bad Hat Harry is still watching. We miss you. You're not here as much live anymore. Oh, hey, Incognito. Incognito says not top secret, but you're fired. Yeah, that's what I think. I think we all agree on that one. All right, we're gonna do the post show. You can hear some Annie and my college stories, I guess. Maybe this is too risky. And if you're not a premium subscriber, just go to truthhurtsnews.com and click on support us. We'll be live on Locals in 1 minute. For everyone else, we'll be back here Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Take care.